Hello again, everybody. This is Comic Book Hangover. It is Monday, so it is time for Mini Mondays Halloween edition continued, or whatever you want to refer to it as. So this week's Mini Monday on Halloween sort of horror theme mini series, I wanted to do something that wasn't Marvel. I know the last two that I did were, well, they were Marvel, and it's easier for me to do that because I got a lot of Marvel stuff in my collection. But there's a lot of non-Marvel stuff as well that should be talked about. And this one here for this week actually is not only not Marvel, but it's a lot more recent than the other ones that I had done. And that is from Image Comics, Cullen, Bunn, and Mark Torres, Cold Spots. This was published from August 2018 to December 2018. It's a 5-issue miniseries and written by Cullen Bunn, art by Mark Torres, and some amazing, amazing covers on this. Now, this book starts off as sort of a missing person sort of mystery. There's a guy, Dan Kurz, who's hired by somebody who knows him, doesn't like him, and we find out that the guy is the son of. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase this. So Dan is hired by this guy to find the guy's daughter, Alyssa, and her daughter, Grace. Dan and Alyssa dated. The father didn't like him. He kind of was a loser, but he's really good at finding lost people. So the guy's like, okay, I gotta hire Dan to find my daughter. So the investigation kind of begins just like a regular investigation. He finds out where she was seen last. This place called Quarles Island. So he goes there and begins the investigation, trying to get to the island to try to find this woman and her daughter. So while that's going on, though, there's this, and we're going to go to the next cover here. There is sort of this ongoing thing where in Quarles, in this town that leads to Quarles Island, it's always cold. And the story takes place in the summer, but in this town it's so cold. People are wearing jackets. You can see their breath. And when he's listening to the radio, when Dan's listening to the radio, he's listening to a station that's in a town just a couple hours away, like 2 hours away. And they're talking about how it's just really warm and go to the beach and enjoy the sun, enjoy the heat. But in this town, it's so freezing. We also see that without Dan knowing him, there's these sort of like shadow ghosts. Best way to describe it, sort of like shadow ghosts that show up, and they're going to people that apparently knew them when they were alive, and that is part of the cold. And they wind up killing the living people by freezing them to death, turning them into ice statues. So we have this missing person case, as well as a little bit of the supernatural, a little bit of a horror element there, and it works really well. Dan gets to the island, and he, through a series of events, he winds up finding Alyssa, finding Grace, the daughter, and realizes that that's his daughter. So he definitely wants to get them off. Now, Grace is a girl who doesn't talk. She is supposedly contains or harbors some special abilities, and the people that Alyssa are the people that she's living with, the people that she went to, promise that they could help Grace with her abilities, because part of the deal with Grace is spirits, ghosts are drawn to her. They're attracted to her for whatever reason, and these people promise that they can help. Unbeknownst to Alyssa, they're actually trying to use her to resurrect this entity. They don't really explain too much about what this entity is or the purpose, but part of it is they're to resurrect this entity, and the entity is supposed to make them sort of immortal. And things just kind of get out of control. People die, and Dan fights for his family. And he, at the end of the story, he does realize the importance of having his family. Unfortunately, not all the family members survive. So, Alyssa, the mother, doesn't make it. So he's got his daughter Grace, and he refuses to give Grace back to the grandfather, who says, "Well, I'm rich, I'm wealthy, I can do whatever I want. I can use whatever legal means necessary to get my daughter back." And he's like, "You're welcome to try." And he winds up leaving, but as he leaves, inside the grandfather's office, it starts to get really cold. So the grandfather did know of Grace's abilities and was hoping to use that to sort of expand his wealth and his power base. So you have a lot of elements here. You have the missing person element, which was really cool. It's kind of a nice little mystery as to how this guy is going to be able to find his wife and his daughter and the things that he's willing to do. And then you've got the supernatural element with all these ghosts that kill people, these really creepy looking shadow entities that are killing people. And then when Dan realizes more of what's going on and realizes the supernatural element, the really interesting thing is, and what makes him an interesting character is he isn't, oh, I can't believe this, oh, this is outrageous, this that, he isn't one of those characters that just refuses to believe what's before his eyes, and he accepts it as best as he can because he knows that his daughter is in danger and his ex-girlfriend is in danger, and yeah, there's all this crazy crap going on, but he's got to get them out of there. The other two things about this book that are worth mentioning is there are QR codes in these. In the first issue, it's in the back, and in the second through fifth issue, they are in the front. And the QR codes will take you to a free MP3 download where you can listen to music specific to that issue. So it kind of adds to the atmosphere. And the atmosphere is actually the other thing I want to talk about as we're talking about the fifth and final issue here, which is, again, amazing covers on this. So with this series, the atmosphere, Cullen Bunn does an amazing job with the pacing of the story. Now, I know a lot of people didn't like the pacing because they felt it was too slow. For me, it is a slow burn story. It doesn't jump straight into the action. It doesn't jump straight into the conflict between Dan and the supernatural. It's a slow build. Usually, it actually doesn't start really picking up as far as speed and action until like the third issue. But for me, that worked. That's the kind of horror story that I really enjoy. That kind of has a slow burn. That doesn't jump right into it. It's why I like watching Asian horror films, because they aren't interested in the cheap jump scares, and they're not interested in those music pop scares. They want to set the tone first. They want you to know who the characters are first. That's important, and then you slowly add the elements of horror and terror and suspense, and that's exactly what this book does. And for me, that made it. The just as I was reading it the first time, and even the second time, the like I said, the pacing of it and the slow burn style of storytelling. I mean, you could feel the coldness in the air of this town, and just the damp, clammy coldness. And I mean, if you're from, like, I'm in Michigan, those are the kind of winters that we have. New England states and the Pacific Northwest. Those kind of winters that they have are just like cold and clammy. And no matter what you put on, that cold goes through anything. And that's how the story felt. So this was a book that, and we're going to go through the covers one more time here. This was a book that impressed me when it first came out. And the second time I read it, which was just a couple of days ago, continued to impress me. I mean, it is just, again, I cannot say enough things about the pacing of it. And so it has to be, I really want it to be known. It is a slow burn story. So if you're looking for something that jumps into it like Marvel Zombies, and if those are the only kind of sort of horror stories you like, this is not for you. But if you do enjoy a slow burn, if you do enjoy a slow build and mood setting and setting of tone, this is definitely a book to check out. The characters are really cool. Like towards the end of it, when all hell is breaking loose, I mean, you still have Dan is like, just run, just get the hell out of here. Alyssa is telling her daughter, go, don't look back. Their main concern at that point is getting that little girl out of there and getting her safe. Now it is open ended. Cullen Bunn did say that he has more that he wants to do with it. With Mark Torres, I'm hoping with Mark Torres, because I got to tell you, with the art, Mark Torres' art style in this does nothing but add to everything, every aspect of, excuse me, every aspect of Cullen Bunn's story, everything that he's trying to get across is accentuated by Cullen Bunn's or by Mark Torres's artwork. He really just knocks it out of the park with this book, and I found myself just the same as when I was reading it the first time around. I found myself just basically drowning in every panel, because every panel is just so amazing to look at. Even the covers. I mean, I spent I don't know how much time looking at all these covers. These are just amazing, amazing covers. Matches the artwork inside. It's just as amazing. The writing is just as amazing. So this is a book that I definitely recommend. Especially, as I said, if you're into sort of a slow burn story, if you're like me and you don't have to have every horror story just like boom, jump into the blood and guts and gore. And that's the other thing. There's not a lot of blood, guts, and gore in this. It's more of a psychological horror, psychological terror, suspense thriller type story. But it works so well. I read it once when it first came out, so it's 2018. So a handful of years ago, it came out, and I enjoyed it the second time around as much as I did the first time around. And actually, now that I've read it again and I've enjoyed it as much, I'm thinking if I could find the trade for this, I would buy the trade for this so I could get more people to read it. Because I always love getting trades and handing them out to people. It's like, hey, you got to read this story. This is a story you need to check out. And Cold Spots is definitely a story to check out. I cannot recommend it high enough. It is such a great story. The pacing is excellent. The artwork is amazing, awesome, spectacular. I mean, these are all words that could be used to describe this. I mean, it's something I'm honestly surprised this out of all these books today, all these books that are being optioned. There's even books that are being optioned that haven't been released yet. We don't know how how the fan base is gonna react to them. Yet they're getting optioned for TV shows, for movies, and all this crap. I'm honestly surprised Cold Spots hasn't been optioned yet. This would not make a very good ongoing series, but it would definitely make a good maybe a 2-3 part miniseries. A movie, if you get like a 2-hour runtime on it, that'd be great too. But this reads like, because of the way Cullen Bunn writes it and Mark Torres draws it, it's like watching a movie treatment. If you once you get into it, you can see the motion, and I even had I love the music that went along with it because it just added so much to it. So I don't know what more I can say about how much I enjoyed Cold Spots. It's definitely one of my favorite, outside of the mainstream. So not Marvel, not DC. It's definitely one of my favorite, if not my absolute favorite, horror miniseries. If not all time, of recent memory, because it is just so great, and it's one I've talked about a couple of times. Now I did tweet something I don't really like to do a whole lot, because Twitter is just sort of like a cesspool of negativity and hate, especially within the comics community right now. But I did tweet Cullen Bunn and say, hey, did you do a follow-up to this and I missed it? And his response was, yeah, I haven't done the follow-up to it yet. So it's still in the books, and I'm hoping that we get more, because the ending of this is open-ended. We can get more, because the entity, the evil spirits or whatever that Grace was used to resurrect weren't exactly put back where they would be contained. So there is definitely possibility for more. Now, if he's taken this length of time to make sure that the story is well done, I'm all for it. I would not want, as well as this story was written, as well as it was done, I would hate it if the sequel was rushed, because that would just be the saddest thing ever. So I would say that when he makes the announcement of the follow up to Cold Spots, as soon as that first issue is available for pre-order, that sucker is going on my pull list, and I am eagerly awaiting for that day. So Cold Spots, I'm going to wrap this up right now. Cold Spots, definitely a recommended read. If you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. I'm pretty sure there's a trade paperback. If not, it's only a 5-issue miniseries. I'm pretty sure that, the book is not, it's not in high demand right now, so now would be the time to get it, because if it does get optioned, this thing is going to skyrocket. I may actually, see about buying a second run of this, just because once this gets optioned, if it ever gets optioned, this thing is going to go crazy, and it deserves to, because it's such a well done story. But Cold Spots, highly recommended. If you haven't checked it out yet, definitely check it out. It is a slow burn story, so don't expect it to hit the ground running. It does build everything that you need to fully enjoy the story. So that's it. Thanks for watching. If you like what I'm doing here, if you like my reviews, if you like comic books, go ahead and slap that like button. Subscribe, hit that notification button so you know when I've got new videos coming out. I'm going to start working better at recording these in advance so that I can have them scheduled, which will make those notifications actually mean something. If you've read Cold Spots, let me know in the comments down below what you thought about it, what you thought about the writing style, what you thought about the art. Both, I'll be happily on record as saying I loved absolutely everything about this miniseries. But let me know what you thought about it. And again, thanks for watching. We'll see everybody on Thursday with another weekly haul, weekly review video. Again, like, comment, subscribe, notification button, and I'll see everybody later in the week. Have a good one.